अस्सलाम वालेकुम। जागे हुए सब अभी तक? खाना शाना तो मेरा नहीं ख्याल इधर मिल रहा है, सो आई होप कि टॉक से इंटरेस्टिंग है आप लोगों के लिए। फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन और फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज का नाम बहुत सुना आपने। अच्छा, जस्ट वेरी क्विकली, डू वी हैव नॉन पाकिस्तानीज इन द रूम? देन आई विल कंटिन्यू टू स्पीक इन इंग्लिश, अदरवाइज I'll mix and match between Urdu and English. All right, so I'll speak in English, my friend. You're here, you're visiting, I'm going to continue to speak in English. But you hear about the fintech revolution and financial services in Pakistan. So I want to talk about how I see the future of that. Great, we've got this on board. कितने लोगों के पास इधर बैंक अकाउंट्स है? How many people have bank accounts here? चलो गुड, मैं FBR वाले को बुलाता हूँ, उसके रिकॉर्ड्स आप लोग सबके पास होने चाहिए. How many of you opened up a bank account via a branch versus doing it online, digitally? Digitally first. Hands up. Very cool. Very cool. Recently, for the first time in Pakistan, the number of digital wallets opened actually surpassed the number of bank accounts opened through traditional channels. And this will continue to be the future of financial inclusion in Pakistan. But BUT, having a bank account is not enough. The whole objective of financial services has been to drive economies and nations forward. क्यों? किसी के पास ज़्यादा पैसे पड़े हुए हैं, वो इन्वेस्ट करना चाहता है, उससे पैसे लेके to redirect those funds to where economic activity can happen, economic prosperity can happen, growth can happen. And I think that is something where Pakistan needs to get back on track. Why? My first point, this top left you see, treasury banking is a dead end for us. SME and private sector credit is key. I hate to say it, but most of the banks in Pakistan today, they make money of lending to whom? The government. Why lend to the small guy? Why lend to an SME sector? किराना स्टोर को क्यों lending करें जब हुकूमत से 16%, 17% आपको रिटर्न मिलता है? So they raise funds from corporates, lend to the government, and that's fine. You're good. Record profits. If you look at the profits over the last 2 years in PSX, nothing wrong with this business model. The economic environment is dictating this economic model. But what about the small, medium enterprises that are the backbone of any developing economy? When are they going to get low-cost digital funding? अगर आपने treasury investment से ही कमाना है. And this is where we need both private sector intervention and regulatory intervention. Recently, State Bank came out with a banking on equality policy. उन्होंने कहा बहुत मजाक हो गया है. Now you need खवातीन on boards, management teams, sales force. खुद तो करना नहीं है पाकिस्तानियों ने. Mandated it. Best piece of legislation or a directive that I've seen in a long time. We need that focus on the SME sector. I call it the small medium emergency in Pakistan. You need the retailer, the small entrepreneur, the micro SME to actually receive funding. But until the time that we are high and hungover on treasury investments and lending to the government, this will not happen. This is where now we need guidelines for SME lending in Pakistan. And then the fintechs and the smaller banks have a huge business case. It's a 6 trillion rupee market, 5% covered through formal banking channels. पैसा कमाना है, credit scoring के अगर अच्छे models हैं, SME sector को आप पहचान सकते हैं, you can make great gains. But this will also drive Pakistan forward. You need to be able to lend to people who have good ideas and want to drive the future of Pakistan forward. So, treasury, my friends, is a dead end for us. Private sector का जो credit है ना पाकिस्तान में has been the lowest in the region. Less than 20%. Lowest in the region as compared to our peers. And this number is not increasing. Now, in absolute terms, I want to share a number with you. I didn't want to bore you with just numbers. But less than 500 billion rupees in absolute terms is the total lending to the SME sector. मैं एक सेशन में बैठा हुआ था. It was a launch of an Asan digital account. A large commercial bank, I'm not going to name them, a lot of them are friends. Someone was sitting there, mid-tiered commercial bank, let me rephrase, said, we're very proud to announce that the financing to the SME sector has crossed 1 billion rupees. And there was a lot of applause. 1 billion rupees. शर्म मैं ये condescending था, sarcastic था मेरा ये. बस 1 billion rupees की lending to the SME sector. जब books आपकी lending की books जो है hundreds of billions of rupees है. So what about the small guy? And there is a business case for the small guy, people. The Karyana stores, the micro entrepreneurs, the people who employ 20, 30, 40, 50 people in logistics. With the CPEC, logistics and transportation will be in Pakistan. The people who are going to do low-cost funding for commercial vehicles are going to make windfalls and do social good at the same time. So a mix of regulatory intervention and private sector focus is necessary to drive Pakistan forward on financial inclusion. Second cheese, diversity. I think हमने जो definition गलत समझ ली diversity कि men only समझ लिया. Diversity means men only. Half of the population, only 7% represented in formal banking. ये तो डूब मरने का मुकाम है हम सब के लिए. People don't like us giving examples of Bangladesh because of historic prevalence. So I'm going to give an example of Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, it was found that when you give loans and provide financial services to women, they not only empower themselves, but they empower societies around them. They're better borrowers. Us men may like it or not, deal with it, grow up. It's a fact. The Grameen Bank model has proven that the importance of women in financial services cannot be undermined. And I actually compliment the State Bank of Pakistan with the recent directives on the banking on equality policy. I think it will help take Pakistan forward. अब किसको फायदा मिलेगा इससे? कई बैंक्स हैं, फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं, फिनटेक्स हैं, वो क्या कर रहे हैं? जो मर्द हजरात के लिए बैंक अकाउंट है ना, उसका ही नाम चेंज कर दिया, सिन्फे आन, वही खवातीन को आपने ऑफर कर दिया. But we must develop design thinking to actually know what is the need of our female segment. Do they need low-cost insurance products, saving products? What kind of lending do they need? How do we work with the various chambers of commerce? We will not, as a nation, go ahead if we do not include women in financial services. It is such a big opportunity for us. It's such a low-hanging fruit for us that it cannot be ignored anymore. The regulation from State Bank of Pakistan is there. Very good piece of legislation or advice keh dein. But going forward, the fintechs and the banks that can actually implement products and design that is suited to the female segment, chahe wo doctors hain, school teachers hain, engineers hain, startups hain, will actually again make windfalls. क्योंकि मैं ये windfall की क्यों बात करता हूँ? अगर हमने सिर्फ social good करना है ना, तो business will not be sustainable. If you want to drive nations forward, you not only need to do social good, but you need to have viable business cases. So diversity is key now. 7% bank accounts. I was speaking at a university recently. Again, I'm not going to name it. मैंने वहाँ पे पूछा कितनी ख़वातीन के पास smartphones है. So I myself am from the KPK province. So that university was in that province. And very few put up their hands. क्या हो जाएगा यार? फ़ोन दे दो तो कि क्या हो जाएगा? बस कर दें अब 70 साल हो गए हमारे मुल्क को. Digital is the great equalizer. It removes the difference between poor and rich. You can run businesses through your smartphone, through Instagram, through Facebook pages, and you can have smart lending and insurance and savings embedded right there and then. This is how you go to the masses. You will never be able to reach the masses only through a brick and mortar outlet and having people welcome the aam insan in suits and ties. क्यों कोई आएगा bank account में? No one is going to come to a bank if the people welcoming them has a suit and tie. आपको लगता है कि rural पाकिस्तानी आएगा to a bank? जो खातून एक agricultural sector में है, footballs बना रही है, do you think she's going to walk into a bank branch where the whole ambience is not tuned to welcome her? So for Pakistan to move forward, we must now improve the diversity ratio in financial services. And this has been done in other markets as well. There is a huge business case for us to do that. The third way, Sharia way or the highway. There was a survey done recently, about 20% bank accounts in Pakistan, mein 20 se 25%. The survey said that out of all of the other people that are not included in financial services, more than 70% say that if you offer Sharia compliant services, we're going to be part of your journey. If not, chalte bano. We've seen Mizan go that route. We've seen Faisal Bank recently. But you now need to be amongst that first mover advantage. Fintechs, banks. This is the demand of public, any society. When it starts ignoring what the masses want, well, you will never grow. Sharia compliant services will be a big part of financial services in Pakistan. The banks, the fintechs that can offer these services, differentiate themselves from the rest, will again have fantastic business models. Agar ye services launch nahi hoti, financial inclusion penetration in Pakistan will not increase. It's a fact. You will stay at 20-25% bank accounts. You will have a huge informal gray market that you will not be able to overcome. You will have a huge untaxed net. And if we are able to promote this, again, I would like to appreciate the regulator here. There is a 2025 plan that we must try and go towards Sharia compliance. Now it's up to the financial services sector and the consumers to make those changes. Rather than doing this overnight in 24 and 25, sab ek jaise lagna shuru ho jaye, you can actually differentiate your brand. So this, I think, will be cornerstone of how we take Pakistan forward as well. अच्छा, जब हम financial services की बात करते हैं, so is there a holy grail where you can actually make money and actually do social good as well? So I think there are three areas we need to focus on. Digital lending, insurance and savings. Why? Let me say something here. Easypaisa, Jazz Cash and a lot of other fintechs, they don't make money on the bottom line. I'm sorry, they don't. Because if you are just taking a transaction fee on getting customers onboarded on a wallet, it's not enough. पाकिस्तान में कितने लोगों के पास इंश्योरेंस है? आप लोग जरा हाथ खड़ा करें. You're amongst the privileged. We're amongst the privileged 5%. How many of you know what kind of insurance coverage you have? Show of hands. It's much lesser than the number of hands that went up for a bank account. Why? Less than 1% of our GDP की हमारी insurance coverage है in Pakistan. Less than 3% of GDP on savings. इतनी महंगाई हो गई है. We are not giving our people the tools and saving products to actually save money. Micro insurance is going to be a future, guys. And we see some companies like WebDoc and others that are coming into that. What is micro insurance? You're a customer. 3 मिनट में तो नहीं होगा मेरे दोस्त. भाग जाए यहाँ से. 3 मिनट में नहीं होने वाला. 5 मिनट दो. If you're a customer and you have a smartphone, if you are credit scored, you could get an insurance policy there and then that you subscribe to, and there will be a deduction on a daily, monthly, weekly basis from your smartphone balance or your mobile wallet balance. That's how you reach the masses. So yes, there are areas in Pakistan where you can actually make money and do social good. And again, the companies that focus on this are going to be the ones that are going to have a differentiated brand. 2 point रह गए मेरे भाइयों, 2 point रह गए very quickly. From cash to cashless की journey. अच्छा, cash से cashless की journey अक्सर कहते हैं कि यार पाकिस्तान में क्यों किया जाए? Why do we go to a cashless economy? Now imagine a company that collects cash at the end of a day or at the end of a month. Banks तो बंद हो जाते हैं 5 बजे. जब आपने इतनी huge collections की हैं, where do you deposit that cash? The risk of carrying cash. Do you know how much it costs Pakistan to print money? 15 to 20 billion rupees per annum is the printing cost of cash in Pakistan. You talk about revenue streams for us. But then there's a question. If you want Kiryana stores to accept cash, they will digital, they will not. क्यों नहीं करेंगे digital accept? Cash पे क्यों काम करेंगे? कोई एक reason है? Tax. ये देखिए इस पे सब बोले हैं. टैक्स नेट में आ जाएगा. तो क्यों करे भाई, पहले ही टैक्स से सड़कें तो बनती नहीं है, स्मॉग ही स्मॉग है शहरों में हमारे. What we saw in South Africa is that when there was a tax break that given to Kiryana stores, small medium enterprises for 2 to 3 years, people came into that because a 3-year advantage was a great incentive for them to come into it. We need to move to that direction in Pakistan, and we're working with regulators and stakeholders to get there. Crypto की बात की जाती है. I want to talk about that. Crypto is dangerous, it's risky, agreed. But do Pakistanis not use crypto? There are so many people I know who actually use the Binance app. If someone wants to accept it or not, it's a different matter. But Pakistanis are experts on Binance. By some estimates, we're amongst the top 10 in terms of crypto transactions. Now imagine if you had a 15% VAT on that. Do you know the foreign currency returns that would have come in? So now as a government, as a nation, we have a choice. We can say कि यार crypto doesn't exist. पाकिस्तान में नहीं हो रहा, झूठ है, सब झूठ है, ये फ्रेब है, नहीं कर रहा कोई, किसी बच्चे के पास Binance app installed नहीं है, तो फिर तो ठीक है. The other way is to say, भाई, it's happening. We now need risk-based, responsible regulation with sandboxing और तरीके से इसको आगे लेकर जाएं, and maybe we can make some money off it as well. We talk about new revenue streams in Pakistan, ना? तो कहाँ से आएंगी न्यू रेवेन्यू स्ट्रीम्स जब उसी पुराने इकोनॉमी के अंदर हमने खेलना है. सो दैट इज अ बिग अपॉर्चुनिटी फॉर अस. लास्ट बट नॉट द लीस्ट, लास्ट पॉइंट, बैंक्स are high on liquidity, lot of money because they're lending to the government, very low on innovation. Big offices, big egos, big ties. Fintechs, high on innovation, very low on funding. I'm sorry, a lot of them will disappear in a few years, but very great on innovation. जहाँ पे इन दोनों की मुलाकात होती है ना, वहाँ पे मैजिक होता है. जिस हम मूवीज में नहीं देखते, मैजिक होता है. जहाँ पे an embedded platform or a fintech can meet with a bank, it's magic, like those movies you see. But it's not easy to have that magic. Why? When a fintech shows up at a bank, the bank says, I don't need you. I lend to the government. I'm good. The fintech says, well, I have APIs, API calls. वो लोग समझते हैं किसको कौन call में ला रहा है. What is an API call? They don't speak each other's language. So what you need to do as a fintech is to choose the use cases which are going to be most beneficial. Spray and pray नहीं होने वाला. चाहे आप digitization of retail है, चाहे insurance है, you need to choose the use cases that are going to add value. And as a bank, I also say this. Unfortunately, the cultures of the banks will not allow for a fintech partnership spree. You will need to choose your strategic fintech partners, choose the verticals that you want to focus on, and deliver those APIs and connections to take financial services to the masses. क्योंकि ये जब हो गया ना, banks and embedded platforms का मिलाप, तो I think the kind of innovation you will see in payments for Pakistanis, in insurance, in savings, in lending, you'll be sitting at home, you're a shopkeeper. They will say, well, we know how much you generate, you can get an instant loan right now and you can get it cashed out from the nearest retailer. Repay us in 20 days. You will get insurance there and then. You could get micro loans to pay your utility bills. मैं आखिरी बात ये करूँगा, in Pakistan, nano lending can be used for social good. अगर utility bill payments, if they instead of going from monthly bills, go to daily. बहुत से गरीब लोग हैं वो अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकते सर्दियों में गैस का बिल. इमेजिन करो if you say to that person कि you can get a loan for 1 day and you can pay your gas bill for 1 day. If you can turn your chula on for 1 day, that's financial inclusion, that's power. And when these embedded platforms actually find that cross of intersection with banks, I think magic can happen. So guys, I'm out of time. Thank you for bearing with my rants. I truly believe that in Pakistan, we're on the cusp of something special. Yes, we have a lot of smog on the way. Agreed. But then what's the fun of it if we didn't have any smog? This is a country which has the most talent that I've seen internationally, and I've been privileged to work in 12 markets. I am still optimistic. I know that with the innovation of the youth and with the infrastructure of the larger players, we can drive Pakistan forward, and including everyone in the financial inclusion journey is going to be key for our success. Thank you guys. Thanks a lot.